All right, good morning, class. This is Mr. Walker covering some of the stuff that we'll be covering in our notebook today. I'm going to be putting up a couple videos for each of our four sections. So, one for our vocabulary, one for the identifying parts, one for the translating math, and one for evaluating expressions. So, these four videos will be up on our Google Classroom later today. These are just so you have these as reference, and that way you can just jump into the learning. So, first thing we're going to talk about is the vocabulary section. So, on our vocabulary section, we're going to be using a graphic organizer called a Freyer model. So, this right here in the top right, this is an example of that. So, in this example, we got a couple things. In the very middle, we have an oval with the actual vocabulary word. In the top left, we got the definition of that word. In the top right, we got some facts and properties about that word. So these are just different things that could be found in the definition, but just, are a little more extra things, some things you might want to know on the side. In the bottom left, we got some examples. So you can put things like images, words, things that would describe this down here. You can put some non-examples in the bottom right. So things that are obviously not whatever our vocabulary word is. So we're going to do a quick one using the word triangle. Okay? So let's talk about this word triangle. So very obvious. We've already talked about things like this all throughout math from Lord knows how long you've been doing math. So a triangle is a shape with three sides. Pretty easy. The definition doesn't have to be particularly too wordy as long as it gets the job done. Now over here in the top right, we got different facts, properties, characteristics about our vocabulary word. So we can just get specific about that. So we know it has three sides. We also know it has three angles, and some extra things that you could put. You could also say that all three of the angles add up to 180. Simple things like that. So with that, you are officially finished with this part. Now, in cases like this, with the examples and non-examples, you could either type out certain things that could be with this. So if this were a different type of word, we could type out something, but the best thing we could do is actually just put in an image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an image of a triangle. So if I want to, I can go to Insert, I can go to Shape, I can go to the Shapes menu. I'll find a nice triangle here, and then I'll just click and drag that out in the examples column. I could also go right here to Shape and do that short cut like that. So there's another example right there. And then if I want some non-examples, I can go to the Shapes column, pull out a couple right here. So this is obviously not a triangle. And this is obviously not a triangle. And that right there, that is your finished Freyer model. Now, when you go through and do this, you want to make sure that all four of these are filled up as best as you can possibly answer it. Now, sometimes you might not be able to come up with an example. Feel free to look up one. Now, on our next page, we got 6 vocabulary words for this section. We got expression, variables, terms, coefficient, like terms, and constants. Now, all 6 of these words you are going to define on your own using this website right here on Math is Fun. So I'm going to open this up in another tab, and we're going to be clicking back and forth between these as we define these first two right here. Okay? So the first word we're going to be looking for is the word expression. Now, we are just looking for the definition. We're just going to find it over here on this website, copy and paste it right over here. So let's go over there. Let's look for it. So all the definitions on this page are written in bold. So we're going to go down and we're going to look for that. So we're looking for the word expression. Word expression is right here. So I want to copy all this sentence down because all this is actually its definition. So I'm going to click that. And I'm going to bring that right over here in our definition box. So let's double click that. Let's copy and paste right there. Okay. So an expression is a group of terms. And it says in parentheses, the terms are separated by plus or minus signs. Now, for some characteristics about it, you already actually have a characteristic right here. So we can actually take one of these and we can just bring that right over there. So the terms are separated by plus or minus signs. That's one thing that we could put. I can actually get rid of these parentheses signs right there because we don't really need those. So we got terms are separated by that. Next thing that we could say is there is no equal signs in expressions. And one more thing you could say is that you evaluate expressions, not solve them. Whenever you're looking at actually doing work involving expressions, this is going to be the word that they want you to use to figure out what the answer is. So you would be evaluating them, not solving them. So we just want to give me an example and a non-example right here. So let's do a quick one right here. We could actually type this one out. So it's a group of terms separated by plus or minus signs. So we could just do simple things like 5 plus 6. That's an expression right there. We can do another one if we want to. We could do 11 plus 57. There we go. And if you want to get fancy with it, you can use a variable. You can use x minus 9. All of these here are different examples that we could put. Now for non-examples, we want to go and look at our characteristics, our definition, and give me things that are the opposite of that. So we know that there are no equal signs in expressions. So what we can do is take an expression like 5 plus 9, and we can put an equal sign on there. So 5 plus 9 is equal to 14. And if we wanted to do one with a variable, we could say that y minus 2 equals 12. Both of these are not the same thing as an expression because they have an equal sign in it. Okay? So we're going to do one more, and then you guys are on your own for the remainder of those words on this next page. So we're going to also do one for the word variable. So let's take a look back on that page. All right, I'm looking for the word variable. I see the word variable here, but I'm looking for its definition. If I look up a little more, I'm happy to see it right here. So a variable is a symbol for a number we don't know yet. It's usually a letter like X or Y. So that's a quick definition right there. Bam. So just like we did last time, we actually have a characteristic inside of its definition. So let's put that right in here. It's usually a letter like X or Y. We can also say that we do not know what the number is when we first see it. So whatever that variable represents, we don't know what it is yet. And one more thing that I like to tell people is that the variable can also be a symbol So that's another thing. There's plenty of other things that we could put in these characteristics box, but you can just, stop at just giving me one or two. So we're going to give examples and some non-examples. So some examples, we're looking for symbols that represent numbers. So the easiest ones that we do know are things like X, Y, Z, W. Oh man, I was typing that. Those must be commas, my fault. So simple things like that. Or if you want to, since you could also put symbols, we could put something like a triangle, because that could also be a variable. Now, for non-examples, you're obviously looking at actual numbers, things that you do know. So things like 59, or 12, or 5. So these are things that you do know, as opposed to the things that you don't know. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our video. You are to define the remaining 4 terms. And then when you are finished with these, you need to make sure that you go back on Google Classroom and check out any homework that you have in your assignment folder. All right, good luck, folks. See you in class.